Hi, this is Scott from Voyager, and may the rock be with you.
Well, now, mate, it's been about 9 years since we last chatted, so let's catch up. How have the last 9 years been for you?
Look, it's been busy to say the very least. I guess if you just take the last 6 months, it's probably accumulated, more busyness than the last 8 years combined. But it's been pretty good. Yeah.
That's all right.
Could I say in that time? It's too many.
No, 100%. No, we are here, though. You got a new album, just dropped, Fearless in Love. Now, in the 4 years since Colours in the Sun, obviously lots have happened, right? So how, if in any way, did the events of this time over the last few years help shape this new album?
Massively. Honestly, the sort of pursuit for Eurovision, I guess, has really shaped a lot of our writing process in positive ways. We feel, the approach we took for Dreamer was sort of the starting point for us, where we decided we would write mostly in a studio room rather than a rehearsal room, and it just allowed everyone to sort of critically analyze everybody else's parts a little bit more than we would do normally. When you're standing there with a guitar in your hands or a drum kit in front of you, you're preoccupied with what you want to do with the song, not necessarily what anybody else wants to do with it. So in the studio environment, we would listen to the drum parts being programmed and go, oh, I can imagine this kind of feel, or, oh, that inspired me to come up with this kind of riff. And it just felt better. It just felt more streamlined, and we all kind of understood each other's parts in a more intimate way.
Yeah, wow. So over the time, obviously we were locked away during the pandemic, and are you in WA?
Yes.
So you were on your own little island over there and not allowed to talk to anyone. So
pretty much.
Yeah. What about the writing process? Obviously you're all alone, you're all isolated. Did you guys all come together and put it together afterwards? How was it working while you were all isolated?
I mean, we were in a very fortunate position where most of the time Perth was in COVID zero, so we didn't have to deal with as much of the lockdown nonsense as the rest of the country did. We were in a very fortunate position. As much as I protest the full lockdown and the separation of the states, it did allow us to kind of live relatively normal lives during that period, which is lucky. But there were instances where we would have to keep completely separated, and I guess through those times we would just do as much online as we could. We would, Danny would write like a keyboard line or a vocal chain, and I would, write a riff on my own, and then send that via Discord to everybody else, and would sort of slowly chip away at things like that when we weren't able to see each other. But yes, for the most part, thankfully, we didn't really have to worry too much about it. We were able to kind of do life as normal, thankfully.
Wow, what was that like?
Yeah, God. I mean, the thought of trying to do anything like in Melbourne during that time, as an example, because they were locked down to oblivion. I just don't know how anyone could have done anything productive with that time.
Yeah,
especially creatively.
Yeah. It's funny, like when I spoke to people after we all sort of got out and it was back to normal, I was asking them what their situation was. Like a lot of people thrived during the time, a lot of people struggled, a lot of people couldn't do anything, and it's really interesting to hear people's take on how they dealt with the time locked away. And these are some of the biggest artists in the world. You know what I mean? Like it's crazy how it was for some people.
Totally, yeah. It's a real like. It almost exposes, how different people can be and how different people process, stresses like that. For certain people, it gave them, it sort of almost deleted all of these things that they maybe never really cared about in the first place, and allowed them to kind of just focus on the things that they do care about, which are right in front of them. For other people, it was extremely stifling, and for me, it was horrendous. Like I hated the times I was locked down because I like to think that I'm a pretty sociable person, and not being able to kind of bump ideas off other people and stuff like that really killed my creativity. The only thing that really kind of gave us the saving grace for it all was, those few times where we could kind of get together and practice and write as a group.
Yeah, wow.
It is such an interesting time, I guess.
Certainly was. Now, I always like to ask about one song on the record that stands out for me. So can you tell me a little bit about a song called Submarine and how that came about?
Yeah, Submarine is a weird one.
I love it.
Yeah, thanks, man. The track sort of actually existed as a demo for a really long time. It was one that we were sort of thrown into the pool of potential ideas, and every time we would listen to it, we were like collectively we all went, what the hell even is this? Like, we don't know what we're supposed to do with this idea, because it was just the very first idea, and it was just synths at that point. It was just a synth part with like a programmed drum thing that Danny had written. And eventually, after kind of laughing about how silly the demo sounded, we eventually just tried to give it a go. And it ended up working out brilliantly. Like, okay, let's put some fat guitars in there and make it a bit more punchy, a bit more metal. And it just kind of worked out. But that song, in the second verse, Danny had written this sort of left-hand keyboard part that was supposed to be like a synth-based thing. And I had the stupid idea of trying to transcribe all of his bass in the left hand and try and play it on guitar as, you know, the riff for verse 2. And so if you listen to verse 2, no two bars of verse 2 on the guitar and bass are the same. So, like, there's no, like, underlying kind of riff that repeats itself. The whole thing is through composed. So it took us, like, weeks and weeks to memorize that section. So it's a pretty whack song, lots of key changes, and, you know, I think it was the one song on the record where we just kind of went completely wild and let it be the ridiculous song that it wanted to be.
Amazing. I gather you don't play it live.
Oh, we've played it live at every show since we released it.
No way.
Yeah, it's become a staple now, and it's really fun to play. It is bloody hard.
Yeah.
Like, when we play it, we're definitely not moving around anywhere near as much as we do for the other songs.
Oh, that's brilliant.
It's fun. It's a really good one to play. So, yeah, hopefully we'll get to play that for you at some point.
Excellent. Yeah, I missed the Sydney show. I was at another gig that night, and I'm like, oh, man. Like, but next time. It's all good. Now, what I've always loved about your band is I have no idea how to categorize you. It's like 80s prog rock, pop metal. I don't know. It's the Keytar, isn't it? That's the key to everything, isn't it?
It's the glue. Yeah. I mean, I feel like trying to put a genre on us is almost like a fool's errand. We've kind of turned it into something of a meme ourselves. You know, we're like electro pop, power, progressive metal, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I think for us, it's just we like a lot of different music. The through lines for us really is just like, we love a hook. We love a good hook.
Yep.
We want a song that has. We like to think that each song has its own identity, and that requires, like, you know, it requires a hook of some kind. So our approach is to try and make every song that we write its own thing, and we try to serve the song rather than ourselves as well. So if that means that the song is a bit darker or a bit more synth driven, or if it's like more metal, you know, we'll just do what we feel is right for the song, rather than sort of seeing ourselves as, oh, we're this kind of band, so we're not allowed to do this kind of thing compositionally. We just don't believe in that mentality at all. We think it's better to serve the song than to try and categorize ourselves as like a type of band, if you know what I mean.
Well, it works for you, so it's good.
Yeah. Awesome.
Now,
good to hear that, yeah, because sometimes we think, you know, are people going to come along for the ride? You know, that's the other thing. If we do stuff that's different on every release, you know, is there a through line that makes us still sound quintessentially Voyager? But I think we have found something in that, so I guess it's all good.
Definitely. Now, you know, I have to ask about the experience at Eurovision. What was it like?
I mean, amazing, and it is everything you would think it would be, and then some.
Yeah, right.
Just bombastic, super intense. Like, when we got to Liverpool, because we had done 4 weeks of pre-party shows, and you know, you sort of have to blaze the campaign trail a little bit for Eurovision to try and win over votes and stuff. So we did Spain, Madrid, London, Amsterdam for pre-parties. And yeah, by the time we got to the actual Eurovision proper in Liverpool, we had already burnt, you know, 4 weeks of work. So the days were so busy at Eurovision that our delegation only let us know what we were doing on the day. So they would give us day schedules rather than week schedules.
Oh, wow.
If they gave us a weekly schedule, it would be too difficult to follow.
Wow.
So they're just like, just worry about what you're doing today don't even think about tomorrow.
Jeez, it's a good way to look at it. I mean, like,
Yeah. I mean, it worked. It definitely worked.
Yeah.
There were obvious exceptions. We had partners there that would want to find, a sliver of time to catch up with us. So we're like, what's our tomorrow looking like? But for the most part, it was like, yep, take it each day as it comes because it's hectic. But, also it was just one of the best things we've ever done in our lives. So, it was unreal.
Yeah, have you found that it's opened you up even more to markets you hadn't hit before at all?
Yeah, I think so. Definitely. There's very much like a Eurovision zeitgeist that exists in its own little world. So, we've been able to tap into that universe. But the other thing as well is that the music industry and the television industry has a lot less crossover than you'd think. So being able to actually connect with people who, they're music producers, but they're music producers for TV rather than music producers for touring bands and musicians and studios, has been awesome for us, because I think Voyager is we did pretty well in terms of, captivating audiences, not just with the music, but with just us being idiots for the most part. So I think, putting us in front of a video camera can be quite good for us. I think being able to tap into that resource a little bit more over the years is definitely going to bode well, in terms of our publicity. So we see Eurovision not just as we do it one time and that's it. We see it as we're now part of the Eurovision family and we're going to keep ourselves in that world, as much as we can, whilst also being the band that we've always been.
Yeah, perfect. Now, over time, it can be very easy to say what can change, but what for you is the one thing that has and always will remain the same about Voyager?
I think just the fact that we're nerds, we're idiots. I think there's no attempt to be cool and brooding. I think obviously when it comes to having promo photos and all that kind of stuff, you have to put on a bit of an act. But for us, it's just I think we are unabashedly ourselves. We don't take ourselves too seriously, but we take the music seriously. I think those things are all identifiably Voyager traits. It's kind of funny. Our Patreon chat on our Discord have talked about this whole idea that we have a particular vibe. So I think that vibe really is just we really love each other's company and we're all really good friends. I think that's what translates. We love spending time together outside of just the musical context. And I think that really helps us as a band and it helps us be the band that we are.
Yeah, beautiful. I love that. Now, I always love asking the question, I wish I wrote it. So if there's one song in the world that you wish you'd written, what would it be and why?
Sorry, could you repeat all of that?
That's all right. The question is, I wish I wrote it. So is there one song in the world that you wish you'd written and what would it be and why?
Right. Ooh, okay. Damn. What was the song? There's a song by a band that I love called The Deer Hunter. What is that tune? If you give me 2 seconds, I will be able to find that for you. Because I remember having songwriters envy about this particular track. I mean, honestly, anything that Casey writes for The Deer Hunter makes me feel that way. Right. Whisper by The Deer Hunter. I know it's a pretty obscure track, but yeah, if I could recommend anyone who's listening to go and check out a band, it's that band. But yeah, the song Whisper by The Deer Hunter has just got this awesome uplifting chorus and it's just a great tune. He's just a really good songwriter. Right. I just remember listening to that and going, oh man, I wish I could do that.
Yeah, right. I'll check that out. That sounds good to me. Awesome. I love that. Now, lastly, let's look ahead to the future. So as we always do, I want you to finish this sentence for me. By the end of 2023, Voyager will have completed a sellout tour of Australia, released a brand new album that we're all very proud of, completed our very first European and UK headliner in October, and just generally feel a sense of pride about all of the things that we've managed to accomplish over the years. I think this year in particular, it's really culminated into something very special. So I'm super excited to see how it all pans out for the future. Excellent. Scott, thanks for your time, man. Great to talk to you again.
Yeah, no problem. It's good to chat again.
Excellent. Hopefully we can catch up when you're in Sydney.
Absolutely, man. Take care.
All right, buddy. Talk to you after.
Right.
Bye.
Bye.